to my party, we're just getting started. A life is a dream or a nightmare scarring. Hand me a drink cause I think I'm going all in. Get me a shrink who can catch me when I'm falling. Cover up my scars, flip the handlebars. Crashing in my car, wake up in a bar. I'll be a superstar, just on my avatar.
Welcome to Story Demon. I am Chris Hoke, also known as David C. Hoke, also known as the author of Marav, and joining me is the lovely and talented
Celeste Prater, author of the Fueled by Lust series, romance series, also the author of Visiting Darkness, my crowning jewel, where I stepped out of the romance arena and went into mystery thriller, cop drama, little slice of paranormal, and also do some memoirs too. So multiple genre author right here.
People want Marav to be a series, which I'm going to be. How fast I'll make it, I don't know, but that's to be determined. But I'm keep fanboying Max from Visiting the Darkness, and I keep pressuring her to, like, we need Max to be a series. We'll see. She's gonna leave me in suspense whether that'll happen. I don't know. Is it gonna happen or not? Do you know?
It will happen. Max is my readers that come back again. I want to see more Max. You're not the only one. And like I said, it's in a screenplay, and you know about the screenplay because you kind of helped me dabble with that a little bit, give me into a new area. And so I've already written the sequel to the screenplay, so I was like, I need to make that into a book. So you're going to get more Max, and I'll put him in more situations.
You know, I get two characters. The feedback I get on Marav are two characters. Marav herself, which I figured that would be obvious, and women love Marav, by the way. Oh
yeah, she's not one of, like I said on my review that I did for you, Marav. I felt with her, even while we were going through the book and stuff, that's what drew me. Was Marav was not one of those little beautiful superhero women that sit there and fight bad guys with one hand and their hair stays all beautiful and the wind's blowing it. Nah, she gets hurt, she bleeds, she's cusses. I identified with her, and so she is cool. These days when I see them, let's put a woman in this movie, make her the lead character, and she's just perfect. So it's no. She's the real deal.
I mean, the very first scene you meet Marav, she's bleeding from a torn open C-section. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
and I made sure, like, she was always like, there's a multiple time like she's covered in snot and throw up, and like I always made sure, like, I wanted her to be like this realistic, but like. To me, like, it was even more powerful. I'm getting way off subject. It was even more powerful that she was so dirty and in the mud because she was a female, and because women are never really allowed to be portrayed that way. Like, I thought it was more powerful to make her just. She didn't give a shit what she looked like. She wasn't
trying to be a man. She was Marav. She had these capabilities, and
the mission was what's important. The goal was what's important, not her appearance, not coolness, none of that stuff. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the other character was Ethel, her AI helper. Which when I was writing, I knew she'd be popular, but I was like, whoa, people really love.
She's big time. Yeah, she's big time out there. It's almost like the Big Bang Theory, where all of a sudden Sheldon became the main character instead of Johnny, what's his name? Penny's boyfriend. See? Secondary to me. Sheldon.
I knew she'd be popular, but I didn't realize if she'd be like, I mean, people are like, they like Ethel. Like, that's she's like Barney and Andy Griffith. She's like, it's an Andy Griffith show, but it's really about Barney. It's kind of like that,
Yeah, I loved it. And when you're talking about Marav being so real and stuff, same way with my romance books, I always hated, like I told you, I read 600 of them. Yeah. Always, these women were beautiful and slinky and all that, the men would go after them. Well, my hunky aliens, they love curvy women with pooches on their tummy. That's what my women readers love reading, is that they can actually put themselves in that position. They've had a baby or something, got the little pooch still going on down there, or some flappy thighs. These guys didn't give a crap. These guys in my books, they love you, and they are like gorgeous. And so you're thinking, my biggest fantasy, they don't care about my little pooch. They are real women.
Most real men don't care about the pooch.
They don't give a shit, and it's like, man, screw these Earth guys. I'm gonna go to Chinani Mountains, find me an City Warrior. So yeah, I made it realistic to what really happens with women's bodies.
Right. So today's topic, we had an idea about writer's block, and I'll set this up and you can give me your thoughts. But so writer's block is one of the, when you talk about writing, that's going to come up in the first few topics of writing is writer's block.
Right.
And I think for me, I've always misinterpreted writer's block because I've had what I thought was writer's block. Mm-hmm. And I think I know where you're going to go with yours, but I'll let you speak for your piece. But
okay,
for me, with writer's block, I misinterpreted it because I think I bought into this hype that a writer is always writing every day nonstop. Like Stephen King famously writes 2,000 words a day, hell or high water, holiday, vacation, doesn't matter. He writes 2,000 words a day. Mm-hmm. And that's great for Stephen King. But I don't know that you can have the expectation for everybody. Not every athlete trains the same way. Not every person does things the same way. So a lot of times with writer's block, I was not having writer's block. What I was having was I wasn't inspired. I'm an inspirational writer. I write upon the inspiration. So when I'm not writing, I'm trying to force it, but I don't have the inspiration. I just doodle around. And sometimes that doodling can lead to inspiration. So there is value in doodling. But I think I don't get writer's block in the sense that I don't know what to write. I think what I get is I'm not inspired to write. So this should be the rest time for me. This should be me recharging that battery so I can come back with the next one. So once I started framing writer's block for me in that regard, I felt a lot less guilt and a lot less pressure about not writing. Because right now, I'll be honest with you, I just finished Marav, 666-page paperback. I left it all on the field. I'm gassed. I gave it all my best ideas.
Exactly.
And I can't write Marav 2 today because the battery's empty, man. It's not there. Stephen King is, great for him to write 2,000 pages a day or 2,000 words a day nonstop. But that just ain't me. So I think for me, writer's block has been miscategorization, not real writer's block. What are your thoughts on you and writer's block?
I have to agree with you too. I got two sides of this, which is, again, you can get gassed out. Like I said, I've got 15, 16 books in my series, and I really didn't get gassed out as life got in the way because I'm not a full-time writer. It's like you got kids coming over the house. You got, I've got to leave and go to Dallas and pick my kid up because the tires blew out, so you get interrupted a lot. It's not right. And then when our previous session, we talked about people interrupting you when you're writing and they yank you out of your story. You can get kind of like, I'll just start this again tomorrow. You feel like you got writer's block, but it's just, like you said, the passion of getting back into your world. Another one, which I know is really, really big, because I've really never had what I call writer's block, which is when I start writing, boy, it's coming out. It's there. It's not being prepared before I start writing. I have to be prepared. That's I guess you could call my anal side of my other half here is I'm very creative, but I'm also very organized, which another topic we'll be going into is the outline. And don't get scared when you hear the word outline because it's not that rigid, okay? No. But I have to have a little game plan before I go in. And trust me, I've gotten halfway through my game plan. I said, okay, I'm stopping. I'm not planning any more of this book. And then I'll start writing that first part that I'm happy where I'm going with. And a lot of times I'll go a little further and it'll take me off into a whole nother different area. But writer's block is not being prepared. And don't think that you can just sit down at a computer and go, oh, you're so talented. You're an author. How did you do that? I've tried this 1,000 times and I can't seem to. I'll write a couple of lines and I feel stupid. Well, if you don't sit down and game plan out what you plan on doing, yeah, you're going to have writer's block. You may have this opening scene in your head of this guy doing this thing or some kind of battles going on, and then off you go and you think, well, where the hell am I going now? I got to say, no, you wrote a short story. You wrote one page. But if you want to write a novel, you got to have a game plan. So that will stop writer's block a whole lot.
Well, so like when I wrote, I think I talked to you before I really, 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 really started writing Marav in lockdown 2020. but I had several fits and starts probably, I think, since 18. I think you and I first connected like in 18, I think.
Yeah.
And there were some fits and starts between 18 and 2020. And I think I got like something like 40 something thousand words in that spell. And I'm going back and forth messing with stuff. But when I hit that inspirational peak in 2020 with things that happened in my personal life, like it pretty much was a 3.5 year process since then to get it done, with only minor little breaks here and there just for rest recovery purposes. Because I would write a draft and take a couple weeks or a week. Nothing more than 2 weeks at a time. Definitely not more than 2 weeks. And then I would get right back at it. And maybe not even 2 weeks. And so to me, that inspiration carried me through for 3.5 years on that one. I mean, that was my first novel, and probably half that time was wasted on just not knowing what I was doing.
You sure did give it a damn good shot. I'll tell you that. Right, caught my interest. But my first book I wrote in a little over 3 months. Jeez. I got so inspired with that. I dreamed about my characters, and I wrote it in a little over 3 months. Never.
How many words was that?
That was, I think I wrote. I think it was close to 200 something pages. Right. Total for that one. And but I've rewritten it since then, because of course your first book you always say, well, I could have done a little bit better on this and that. So I did a rewrite, and I give it out to readers free. Now it's Druce's Revisited, and it's 30,000 more words and more world building characters and stuff like that. So I said I wanted to oomph him up my very first book. So hey, you can get a free book from me if you like romance. Contact my website.
And for real, if they want to, how do they do that? For real.
Huh? For real. Celeste Prater.com. That's my website. If you go there and say, hey, I heard about your free book giveaway on this episode, and just put your email in there for me, and I will not hit you with all this stuff afterwards. I will not bombard you with stuff. Yeah. It's like a one-time deal. Oops, sorry. One-time deal. Hey, I got to go. Sorry, my phone went off. I should have turned it off. But one-time deal. I'll send you a PDF of my first romance book, which is Druce's, right. And you won't find it anywhere else. But getting it from me and tell me where you heard me offer it to you.
So do you get just so now that you've got, I don't know how many books you've written now, but you wrote a lot. But the now, do you get stumped or stymied, or do you never really stop once you start? Like do you have? I know you wouldn't call it writer's block, but do you get kind of stumped?
No, not really. Not with the series, because when I first started out with Druce's, I have all these other little characters, and the way I built it was I have a character that's interacting with them. There's romance going on, but there's other male character that's part of this world. And then there's a certain part in that book where they'll have an interaction. And then when I started that next book, I started it up with that little interaction with that second character. So their story ends, their story start where I stopped with that little interaction with them. And I had this overall arcing story going through the series. So I knew where I was going. In fact, it was really weird. I had an idea where I wanted to go at the end. Something was going to happen. I can't talk about it because I haven't finished it yet. But it kept leading me to different areas of this story arc. So yeah, I never hit any kind of wall with the series. It was easy to. In fact, one year, I think it was 2013, I knocked out 3 of the books in 2013. Wow. A lot of time it was done at lunch at work, early in the morning, and at lunch, that's all I do is write, until I started getting bothered I started getting fans at work, and so I had to go and hide in another room and write my book. So it's really funny. But yeah, now Visiting Darkness, I had started it in 2016 because my daughter says, Mom, you have to write a mystery thriller stuff to get away from the romance, because she wouldn't read any of my books. She goes, I can't read it. My mother wrote this, so right. I see they wrote it, but she goes, I want to read one of your books that's something else. So I started on Visiting Darkness, but what I really hit it in 2018, 2019. Mm-hmm. It took me a couple of years, and finally when I hit it, I went hardcore right into it. I mean, the story was just falling out of my head, but I've never hit that wall where I go, I don't know what to write about. Yeah, I have never hit that.
I do have a couple tricks though. So when I get when the inspiration is lagging, or didn't really have an inspiration lag once I started with Marav, but I do have some tricks that will prompt me to get into writing a flow, because sometimes there is, when you can't emotionally write all the time because emotions sizzle. So like I do have a couple like tangible like craftsman like tricks that I do, and they're these. One is Bono, the Bono from YouTube.
Right.
When they were famously making Octung Baby, they went through a musical writer's block, if you will. It's a whole famous story about their recording of that album. And when he wrote the song One, he was going through some sort of a writer's block. And he said, what I did was I just started that song in the middle of a conversation. So the first line of the song is it getting better or do you feel the same? So some conversation's already taking place. And he just started the song in the middle of that conversation. And he said that was like his best cure for writer's block. And so I tried that, and then I'll be damned if it doesn't work. If you don't know where to start in the middle. Something's already happening. There's already an action taking place. It didn't have to be action like guns and chases, but it can be a conversation. It can be something. Something's already in progress, and we're jumping in the middle of it, and that gives you room to
go anywhere with it.
You're always starting on the launch pad. The hardest part, the rockets spend the most fuel getting off the launch pad. So as a writer, you spend the most fuel starting. So if you start in the middle, you save yourself some energy, and it gives you some more. That's one trick. And the other trick was, as tacky as it possibly may sound, I don't mean it to be, but it's truth. I have went and found other works that I like, and I just sort of mimic them in terms of pattern, and eventually I sort of like it goes off in its own direction. And I'll give you a real example. The very first scene, not the prologue, but the very first scene in Marav is she's standing on a hill on Mars, and she sees a fire across a valley. That is directly from Mad Max Fury Road, when Mad Max is standing on a hill and he sees, I can't remember what he sees now, across the valley. I guess that's city. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, people start chasing him and he runs from them.
Right.
That very first is Mad Max Fury Road.
Right. It was the little boot kick. Yeah.
I needed the visual in my head of something to get me going. So I just took. Now, if you read that book, it's nothing like Mad Max.
Nothing like it. Yeah, nothing like it. But it gives you the idea about that visual in your head to be able to say, okay, now I've got my character's bodies moving now. Because I'm weird. When I'm in there writing, I'm like in my character's body, seriously. And that's why I'm really good about the movement of the character inside there, because it's not a movie screen, it's words. You got to paint with words.
You see in your head, and you got to make it go out via words.
Yeah, and you'll notice if you ever read one of my romances or all of them, they always start in the middle of action.
Yes.
No one's just like, and I woke up and I went and brushed my teeth and I just, and then walked outside, got hit by a bus. Then I died, I'm a ghost. I mean, no. If I was going to write that, I just got hit by the bus. I don't give a crap that I brushed my teeth 10 minutes before that. I'm going to get you into the action. So writer's block, to me, it doesn't really exist. It just means go rest for a minute, especially if you finished one already, or if you've got writer's block, what you're considering writer's block, I don't know what to write now. You need to revisited your theme and your genre. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to give your readers? And then see if, do I want to give them a 2-page short story or do I want to write a novel?
Yeah.
So
go back to home base. To me, why the hell do I want to do this in the first place? And so going back to I like action movies. So I go back to Mad Max Fury Road, which is about as good of action movies as you can find. And it reminds me, well, why the hell I want to do this in the first place? Well,
right. Or you may find out, and this is sad, but I'm going to be very, very honest with you. You may not be a writer. If you cannot get past those 800, you've done all this planning, you've done all this stuff, and you get this idea in your head, and you just cannot seem to get it down on a piece of paper where anybody wants to read it, even your family. Yeah. You may not be there. You might want to go more visual, like screenplays, or short and sweet, and getting to the point, so it just depends on what you want out of life.
Every craftsman finds tricks to get them going. Every craftsman and everything. Michael Jordan is famous for why he made enemies of people in his head to motivate him to beat the shit out of them on the basketball court.
Exactly.
That was his craft to motivate him to win games. And so you have your ways to trick yourself into going. I have mine, and they need to find theirs. Those listening need to find their trick. What's that trick that gets the juices flowing again?
Yeah, I've read somewhere on Twitter before or some social media that offers saying, "Well, I'm back after a 6-year period. I had writer's block." I'm thinking, what? 6 years of writer's block?
You had 6 years of no inspiration is what you had.
Yeah, I was like, nah, that's not writer's block. That's just your life got torn to some other place, or you got a really, really bad review on your last one. You didn't want to play no more. So it could be that.
Craftsman is all about. I think the basic idea of Story Demon is teaching the craft of story, and this is
teaching
part of
the craft of it. Yeah, because that is so scary. Writing that first line, and we're not even to the point to even tell you about writing that first line. We've got to get you prepped. Tell you what did we hit, what wall have I smashed my head on before, and the same with Chris. We'll tell you this is legit. You're not like us. You're not going to write like us or anything. You have your own, creativity, but we can at least try to show you around the edges of it about the crazy things that might be coming at you at left field. So if you want to keep listening, come back again next week and we'll tell you some more. All
right. So now that they have a few tools, they can go out there and overcome their writer's block.
Writer's block. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
All right. Well, until next time.
See you later.